quoted a Brisa. The Brisa said that there is common laws which apply to the get shichrur and to the get isha. How many? They're 3. And goes in and enumerates the 3. Rameir says they're 4. So if you say a number, the inference of the number is that these 3, but in other areas, there's no commonality between the get isha and get shichrur. And if you say 4, it's 4, but outside of these 4, there is no commonality between the 2. So the Gemara asks, according to Meir, according to Tanakh, when he says 3, what is the 3 coming to exclude? The 4th, that Meir says there's a 4th. Someone asked, and what about Meir who says there's 4? It comes to exclude something. So the Gemara asks, what does it come to exclude? Okay, that's where we're at. We'll go back. The 6th line. You don't test and base. Bishlom the Rabbonim Minyanim Luti or the Meir. Oh, we really have to get back because there's a difficult Rashi, which is in Tzarechim. It says, third line. What is the 4th case according to Rameir that get isha and shtar shichr are the same? Omer ten gets elishti, ushtar shichr is elavdi. Person takes a get, gives it to a shliach to deliver. Says, give this get to my wife, give this writ of emancipation to my slave. If he chooses to what? To retract in either of the cases he can, and even if the shliach should deliver the get shichrur, he's not emancipated. According to Rabbanan, no. Then in regard to get shichrur, the moment he takes the get shichrur, the one who commissioned him to deliver has no control any longer. See Rashi. Rashi says something which Tosas asks if it's difficult. Rashi, if the Gemara in Kedushin, we have an argument whether emancipating a slave is a schus or is a chov. If it's a schus, we say zofalon b'shlo b'fanov. Right? You're able to do an action on behalf of a third party if it's beneficial to that person. It's beneficial. So let's say I appoint a shliach to deliver a get shichrur, whoever it may be, and he takes it on behalf of that person. The person's emancipated immediately. Even though he's going to be a shlich lahol locha, he's representing the master to free him. But if he has in mind that he wants to represent the slave to take possession on his behalf, he's emancipated immediately. So he represents 2 people, the master in the delivery, and in receiving it, he's representing the slave. That's all I'm sure but if you're of the opinion that it's a chov, as a mayor, that a slave would prefer to remain a slave, correct? So we say, so as a shlich lo locha, you deliver it, but when is he emancipated? When you put it in his hand. So what happens now? The master wants to retract. Before the get is delivered, he can retract. Let's say he would cancel the shlichus. You can only be an agent as long as the one who commissions you wants you to represent him. But let's say he didn't deliver the get to the woman, did not deliver the writ of emancipation to the slave, and he chooses to cancel both agents. And then subsequently the agent delivers the get, either to the woman or to the eved. So it's meaningless. Because who delivered it? You're no longer representing me, because I canceled it. But if the moment that the shliach takes possession of the get shichrur, he takes it, he's able to take it on behalf of the slave. And then a moment later he cancels the shlichus. It's too late. The slave already, he's been freed, he's been emancipated. Because the shliach who took it to deliver, he also represents the slave, because it's considered beneficial for the slave to be a free man.
Rabbi, we've always said that a shliach cannot have more power than the one who commissioned him.
He's not having more power.
He doesn't have more ability than the one who commissions him.
No, he's not.
If the man himself decided to free his slave, and he took the get in his hand and went on the journey, why wouldn't we say the slave was emancipated from the time the man had that instinct?
Good question. Good question.
Because it's the same.
Wait. No. If I purchase an object, and I purchase on behalf of a third party, when does the third party take possession? The moment I purchase it on his behalf. Let's say I have that same object. I purchased it for myself, and I pick up the object as I want this object to belong to so and so. They're the same person. Does that person when I pick it up and have mine to acquire it, to acquire it on his behalf, it doesn't become his. Doesn't become his. Because it's already yours. If a person's doing an active acquisition on behalf of a third party where it's not his yet, then your action, you represent him, it's as if he's doing the active acquisition. But if you own it, although you could be his agent, but factually you take possession of something that's already yours. So Kinyan is doing an action which indicates that it's leaving your domain. But since halachically it is in your domain, you have to give it to a third party to take it on behalf of the other person.
So when we say that when you go to someone's house on Shabbos, and I want to take a bottle of wine as a gift on Shabbos, and the person's not allowed to receive a gift, so I'm taking it out of my wine cabinet, and I now have in mind that this is a gift for him.
It's nothing. It means nothing.
I can't deliver that on Shabbos.
No,
How does it work?
You mean you took it out of wine glass before Shabbos?
Before Shabbos.
Doesn't
but
work.
It's in my domain.
It doesn't help. You
I
did
thought
it.
that this I'm now designating.
You have to give it to a third party before Shabbos. Say, I want you to acquire this on behalf of that person.
I can't relinquish.
No. No, it has nothing to do with house. The Hagbo, he picked it up in the house, doesn't mean anything. If it's lying in the chotzer, in his domain, I want that to be. It can't, because it's not in the other person's domain. But what about I'm lifting it on his behalf? Doing my Hagbo, right? The answer is because what you're lifting something that belongs to you. The act of acquisition has to demonstrate that it's being acquired. But something you own, the act of acquisition is not an act of acquisition.
So
You need the instrument of acquisition.
the only way you have to have a third party.
You have to have a
do
third
this.
party, definitely.
But if I went to a store and I
Well, you-
purchased it,
Because you never owned it. You're purchasing on behalf of that person that you have in
so
mind.
the money was my money.
That's fine, not a problem.
So we say I don't own it
You don't own it
because I purchased it.
because you purchased on behalf of that other
But you
person.
have to make a public statement? saying
No,
it's the
no,
same
no,
thing?
no,
Yeah.
no.
Little bell?
Can't you do the same thing every week? You do it once with your wife, and you give it to your wife, and every Shabbos before you
The wife
leave,
is
you
like
give it to
you.
her.
No, it's not posher. It's not simple. No, it's not. No.
The wife was like you.
The wife, you could use your wife. You could give it to your wife. Yes.
What
yes.
is the question, whether his guests, the person is going to own?
You're not permitted to give a gift on Shabbos.
No, but if you use it, I thought.
Wait a second. You're not permitted to give a gift on Shabbos. Correct?
I don't know.
Yeah, you're not permitted to give a gift on Shabbos, rabbinically, because you're not permitted to make an acquisition on Shabbos. So by giving a bottle of wine, or even if you want to give a bar mitzvah gift to a child, a shul, they want to give the chumash, whatever they give, they're not permitted to do it. They're not permitted to do it. The only way they're permitted to do it is before Shabbos, the rabbi had the shamas take possession on behalf of the bar mitzvah boy, but it's only if the mitzvah boy already was bar mitzvah, right? Because if he's a minor, it doesn't work.
When they give you the leader, they're not giving you a gift. It's just a question of how
Okay.
you use it.
Okay. You discuss it with Steve after the share. No, it's always that's on Shlomo. He's totally unaware of what's taking place.
So when David brings the wine to his friend, it's not the friend's wine, it's David's wine, and they're going to open it at the table.
He's giving him his gift on Shabbos.
But I'm saying, so if he brings that wine to his friend,
Let's say the friend chooses not to open the wine.
Which
If
happens a lot.
so it's
Okay.
Because people
We don't want commentaries. Let's talk to Allah.
right. So he
Person brings a bottle of wine, okay,
Right.
and you say, "I'm bringing wine. We're going to drink my wine." Let's say he would say that.
Right.
It's not a problem.
Not a problem, right?
But if I bring the wine, say, "I'm bringing you a gift. The bottle of wine is your bottle. To do as you choose to do with it," that you're not permitted because there it's being transferred into the domain of the recipient.
So that's why you have
It's
to.
obligated to open the bottle of wine.
No.
That's interesting. So that's why when
No, he's not permitted to make the acquisition.
So, getting back to this, the reason it doesn't work is because the man owns it.
Because he owns the slave.
And he owns
The master,
and he
the
owns
master.
the get. He owns the
Everything.
document. He
You
owns
need the third
document.
party involved.
We need the third party involved.
Exactly.
That's
So,
why.
so if it's beneficial to the slave to be emancipated, when he takes it on behalf of the master, he's the master, and simultaneously as the master, but as the person, he's not the master, right? Financially, he's only representing the master. Now he says, now I represent the slave. So based on Principle of Shel B'fanav, the slave received it immediately.
But according to a mayor who says
It's a detriment because
It's a detriment.
so therefore it doesn't, it's not
same
schus.
as a get.
It's like Gerisha.
Right, so the same thing.
So therefore,
they can
if the
retract.
master or the husband should choose to retract, it's not, you cancel it, it's canceled.
I see.
I ask you one question. When you're under the slipper, so how is, you own the ring, how is that done? That you own it?
Can I ask a question? You have money, and you pay your rent. Who paid the rent? You paid the rent, because you own, it's your money, you pay the rent. So what's the difference in the ring? You have to own the ring, and you have to give it to the woman with a mind to marry, and she accepts it with that.
Okay.
So she's married. What, I don't understand I don't understand what
But
the...
it's a third party, and you're the owner of the share.
Okay,
It does seem, rather, on the surface, that the shliach has a different power than the one who is given, because he can do something that the owner himself couldn't
but I'm
do.
explaining why you can't do it. Because
Which is sort of odd.
it's not odd. Because an act of acquisition is a demonstration, the instrument is a demonstration of ownership. But if you already own it, it's not demonstrating ownership. Because you are the owner.
The end result is different.
I'll give you an
understand
example. The
the
Gemara says in Chagiga, a person goes and lifts something inadvertently and benefits, right? You have two bags of money, and one is consecrated, one's not. And inadvertently, you lift the bag of money to take as your own. The moment you have in mind to take it, you're moil. You're in violation of benefiting from Hegdish, and it becomes chulin. You've taken it out of the domain of Hegdish. That's called Mila. What about, the Gemara says, what about if you're a Gizbar? You're the guardian of Hegdish. And you take the money, and you have a mind to take it to yourself. You're not moil. The money remains consecrated money. Why? Because the act, when a Gizbar takes something, the action itself doesn't indicate anything. Because that's what he does all day. He's a representative of Hegdish. Therefore, the only way a Gizbar could be moil is he has to benefit from it. But by having in mind taking it, the act of taking, the act of acquisition is never for the Gizbar in the indication of ownership. Because he is a representative of Hegdish. He is Hegdish. He's God's representative. Not Marasai.
No, but I'm saying it looks, because the person outside, it doesn't look like he's done it.
Again, because an instrument of transfer is only instrument because the party who is involved indicates it's being transferred. But if it doesn't indicate it's being transferred because you're the original owner, so it does make a difference what you have in mind.
But rather, just to coming back now, the end result is if the owner himself of the slave has got to make a journey to deliver the gate, he has the right every step of the way to change his mind
Correct?
and negate his original intent. Okay?
Before we go further,
But if he puts it in the hand of an agent, that agent, the time that it takes on the journey, the owner has now relinquished that ability. He cannot change his mind, according to what we're saying here.
If
He had the ability, if he did it himself, to change his mind. He no longer has the ability. That's the trouble.
Let me ask you a question. The person is a person who represents the slave. So he doesn't give it to this third in the party as his agent to deliver, but he gives them as representing the slave to receive. Is he emancipated immediately?
Yes.
Okay. If he be taking it himself to give to the slave and he hasn't yet given to the slave, he changes his mind, he's not emancipated. But now that he's given to this party, although he's not giving it to the slave himself, a person who represents the slave, now he's emancipated, he can't retract. That's exactly what you're asking me.
Okay, so good.
So it's not a question.
So then, if the man himself, the owner of the slave, he has to understand, I would say, that when he puts this in the hand of the agent, the transaction is done right there.
Correct?
If he thinks that he can change his mind and summon back
No,
that agent,
that has to be an honest. Let's say he would say, he would actually...
because then it's a problem.
No. Let's say he would verbalize. He said, look, I'm only giving to you as to deliver, but you cannot represent someone else, the slave. Meaning it's only upon delivery is he emancipated.
If it's on
Wait, and he has in mind to take possession, then you're not representing me. So you're not the master giving the gift. It would be like you're finding a get in the street, picking it up on behalf of the slave. It means nothing.
So then it
So
wouldn't work.
because there's a presumption that the master is not opposed that if he represents the slave to be emancipated
But
immediately.
I'm not sure that most people would understand that the moment they put it in the hand of the agent, that's when the transaction occurs.
As long as he's not opposed, he wants to free a slave. He wants to emancipate the slave. This man. That's what he wants to
At
do.
the moment. That doesn't
okay.
mean that he may change.
Shliach is just the
If he understand, he's got to understand that he cannot change his mind, that it's over.
No, it has to be the other. It's dvarm shebelev. Unless we could say with certainty that he's opposed to it, the presumption is that he's agreeable, that he should be emancipated immediately. Otherwise, it's dvarm shebelev.
But the slave is, say the slave is supposed to.
No, the master is
The
opposed to it.
master.
The master is opposed to it.
The master-
Let's say we could say with certainty, any master, when he gives a get to an agent,
Yeah.
he does not want the person to be emancipated till he actually receives it. So then, it's irrelevant what the shliach has in mind. You're only representing me if you follow instruction as the master would want it to be. So therefore, you cannot take possession on behalf of the slave. Because if you do that, then you're not representing me as the master.
See that even in the Torah we see, Pharaoh, he relinquished his slaves, but he changed his mind before they got a little further away.
First,
Right?
never relinquished them, never freed them. You're not reading the narrative correctly.
Went up for
3 days. 3 days, and after 3 days you're
passed.
coming back,
Oh, that was still,
right?
he still wanted them back.
And he wanted them back. He never freed them. Never.
No.
Right?
It was still the 3 days.
Correct. It was only after 3 days that's when he went after them. He realized they had fled. Okay?
Rabbi, I got lost in the transaction of the famous bottle of wine on Shabbos. I understand you cannot give it to your host.
Can't give it to anyone.
So what about the third party? We spoke of it, if you give it to...
No, before Shabbos you
Oh,
give
before
it.
Shabbos.
Before Shabbos you're giving it to the third party.
Yeah.
We're talking about
Okay?
It means you understand.
So the Gemara says, according to the Chachamim, that the Chachamim say there are 3 cases where there's a likeness, or the identical law applies to one as the other. 3 comes to exclude Rameir's, right? Because we make a differentiation. We get Shechur and get Isha. According to Rameir, says the 4, because just as regarding to get Isha, the husband is able to retract, the same thing is true in regard to the Shechur, to the get Shechur. So what does it come to exclude? So it says it comes to exclude my lemute, my hoditanya, edim shein yodim lachtom, makaron nior cholok. We discussed this a little bit. Umalalin is akron dio. So there's an argument between Rashi. You score the parchment to form the letters, or you actually tear through the paper to make it into a stencil. We only allow this. This is only to what? To divorce the woman, because it's a question of aguna. But writs of emancipation or any other monetary document, if they're able to read the document and sign naturally themselves, then they sign. If not, we don't devise this type of situation for them to be able to sign. Forget Isha, because unless she's divorced, she's maybe she'll be stuck in a predicament forever. So the Gemara asks the question, Kriya man de karshmei? Until now we're speaking about being able to sign. But reading, they are literate, they can read. Kriya man de karshmei, chasurim mesro, something's been deleted from the Bryce, Eidim shein yodim likros. Witnesses themselves, they can't even read the document. The information on the document. Koran lefneim, you read the document, the chosmin, and then they sign. Now, it's interesting. Now, when you read the document on their behalf, they're signing based on what you said, what you're reading. When you sign document, what are you? You're signing as a witness. We have a principle known as aid me pied. What's the halacha? Aid me pied. Aid me pied is not edus. It's called hearsay. Witnesses testify, they have to testify something which is first-hand. If it's not first-hand, what is it? That's hearsay. It's hearsay.
So if they can't,
Wait, so if over here, they themselves cannot read the document firsthand. They're reading. They only know what the subject matter of the document because they're relying on what? On the reading of the whoever's reading on their behalf. So how do they know what they're signing on? Because someone else testified regarding the information. So Tos says, so was that ABP8? The source of the testimony is not firsthand, but rather it's based on what someone else had said. Right? We'll see Tos in a moment. Shein Yodim Lachtom, and by get, if they don't, not only do they not know how to read, they can't even sign the names, Mekaran land. So either like Rashi Tosis, either you score the parchment and they fill in the indentations, or you actually make it into a stencil. If you take a look at Tosis here, as the lines get wider, Kor Lefnei V'chosmi, V'lo Havi Eid Mipi Eid. See Tosis. She'en tzrichen lo'oid al ikar ha'maseh. Elo she'omakach kosa b'shtar, bo yishnaim koren or afilu echod. He says like this. Let's say two people see an event, Reuven and Shimon Manik. And Reuven and Shimon, the two witnesses, they're not able to be available for the court case because Shimon denies he ever borrowed, so they share the information with two other witnesses. So you testified our name that we were there at the time. That's called hearsay. Although we know the first time, and now we're not necessarily even questioning the second witnesses. Testimony evidence is only if you actually saw the event firsthand. If it was transferred or was communicated through another set of witnesses, that's not edus. Okay? So he says, now when Adam sign on a get, what is the testimony? What are edus? The actual get is the giving of the get. That's the maseh. That's the divorce. The document has to contain information to qualify it as a get. But that's not the maseh. That's not the testimony. When you're signing him, I'm testifying that this document, the Torah says that a document which contains certain information, if the witness is on it, that document has the force to terminate a marriage. But what is the maseh? What is the act of divorce? It's the giving of the get. The get has to be infused, has to contain information, and that information has to have witnesses on it. They're not testifying about the information. If the witnesses would have to testify about the information, then it's a problem. That's 8 P8. They're not testifying about the information. You just have to know what you're signing on.
You're signing a get, but you don't know what's in the get.
You don't know if it's a get. It may be a laundry list.
So that's okay though, because
That's
it's a get.
because, not because it's a get.
No, because it's not the. You're signing on something.
What are you signing on? You're signing on something. It has to contain information to be a get.
Right.
If it has that information, I put my signature on it. Now that get has the force of a
How
get.
do you know it has that information though? If someone's reading the get though?
Because two witnesses said it to me. I believe them. I believe them that's what they're. But that's not 8 P8. 8 P8 means if you want to testify about an event, the event has to be firsthand. This is not an event. The question is what's in the document.
Right.
The document has to contain a certain information.
So we're able. To
I know
believe
it contains that information. Now I put my signature
So
on
we're
it.
able to believe someone reading this piece of paper.
So it's a chiddush. It's a chiddush. 8 P8 means whenever you need to be believed, it has to be firsthand. No, that's when we're saying that. Whenever we talk about an event, you testify about an event, that's where it has to be firsthand. Reuven borrowed money from Shimon. Reuven is a damager. Right? Reuven married a woman. That's an event. That you have to have firsthand. If it's hearsay, it has no value in the court.
People reading this get to the agent at the time, their agent, what's in the get, but
They-
that's direct agent. They're telling
But
the
again,
guy,
but that's not the evidence.
No.
That's not evidence. It's just
They're not
fact.
signing on facts, but-
Correct. That's
so
what.
So according to Rabbi Elazar says you don't need any signatures at all, but he gives the get.
Wait. But it would be something similar. Before you give the get, let's say you have Eidim Masira.
Right.
And the Eidim cannot read Hebrew. The Eidim Masira.
I didn't see it, correct.
They cannot read Hebrew.
Correct.
So before the husband gives the get,
Correct.
they say, look, we're going to read this document for you, and that you should know that this piece of paper that has all the scribble on it,
Right.
it contains information which when it's going to be transferred, it's going to be an event of termination.
It's the same thing then.
It'll be the same thing. Because the event is the transfer. I just have to know that the information is on the paper is the information which is the correct information. How do I know that? Witnesses testify to that.
You need two people to read it for one person.
So he says over here, depends. It's really, even on the tzaddik, well, afilu yochid, go Rav Nachman, v'safri d'daini, disu aimso. It's only, again, I have no fact. There it's just to establish fact. It's not evidence. We need evidence, or you need lecume, that we said, to create the reality. That's Amy P8.
So when you have to say funny nechta, you're saying, in essence, that I saw it, and I saw it signed, and I saw it written.
Right.
So, what is that? So, where does that come into play when you don't have?
First of all, the whole thing's rabbinical anyway. It's rabbinical. On the Torah, you don't have to say funny nechta.
Okay, so rabbinical.
Yeah.
So it's not an issue.
Right. Okay. We'll discuss it later. We discussed it earlier a little bit.
Rabbi, the shliach, can he be illiterate?
He says, "Fonei nechtam." Right? Would be the same thing. How could he say "Fonei nechtam"? What was written? He could say that. If he says these letters, they were written and signed before. He doesn't understand. It's Japanese, but visually he knows that this information was written and signed before him. It wouldn't be a problem.
No, but the case is...
I'm
the
explaining
two
to you.
witnesses- the two witnesses...
Let's say when he delivers the get, he brings it to the bezin, they see it's a laundry list. So what is it? It's nothing. But when they see it is a get, and he says, this was written before me, and this was signed before me. And he recognized that this is the text. He doesn't understand a word of it. Right? It's not. It's a valid testimony. It was written and was signed before him.
No.
What does it say? I have no idea what it says.
My case is, there were two witnesses that saw it, and it was written and
You don't
signed.
need two
And
witnesses.
then-
You don't need two witnesses to see it. The shliach is one person. He says it was written, it was signed before me. You don't need more than that.
But then they give it, after it's done, written, they give it to shliach who was not there.
No, he's testifying that it was written before him.
So he has to be there, the shliach.
If it's coming from overseas. Okay, further. So we're saying, according to the Chachomim, how many, the commonality between get Isha and get Shichur is 3. Remeir is 4. So that means it's 4 and no more than 4, or 3 no more than 3. Okay, Somewhere says for Suleka. I mean, it's only limited to this. There are other comparisons between the two. Goiko, ometunu getza liishta ishtashicha zel avdi umes. Versus give this get to my wife, give this tashicha to my eved, and then he dies. Lo yitin lachem isa. You cannot give the get afterwards. Why? Right? So Tosas not speaking about. We're not speaking where the shlich took the get. Where the tashicha. It would be the same thing, which means he told him, let's see, he let it on tape, he says, give this, and before they picked up the get, the man had a heart attack and died.
So when do you need to get?
Wait. We have a principle in get lachem isa. Why can't you emancipate a slave after you die? In terms of a husband divorcing a wife after he dies, it's not his wife, okay? But what about a slave? The answer is because immediately it transfers to the heirs. You're no longer in the possession. Only a master is able to emancipate his slave. You're no longer the master. The moment he dies, because inheritance-wise, it transfers immediately out of his rishus. The Rashi over here.
You said it does work with the slave.
No, it doesn't work with slave. Neither. It says,
But it says, the moment you put it in the hands of the...
no, this pre. So Tosas, he never put it in the hand of
But
the...
if he did,
And then it's remained the Chachomim.
then...
According to the Chachomim, it will work immediately.
It works immediately.
Correct,
Even though the
correct,
man is
correct,
not dead,
correct,
by
correct.
the time the slave
Correct,
gets it,
correct, because he was freed.
he was free, but it wouldn't work with a woman.
Right. So Tosas learned speaking about where he actually did not put it in the hand of the shliach regarding the emancipation, but he gave the order, and right before he picked it up, the man dies. The master dies. He cannot give the get. It's too late. Okay. Tnu mono leploni umes. Person's on his deathbed. They were talking about the shchimera. Rabbinically, the Chachomim say that a person's on his deathbed, and he says whatever he gives an order, you have to fulfill his wishes. Because if you don't fulfill his wishes, and he feels you may not heed his what he wants, he may become upset, and that may hasten his death. So the Chachamim say that if he's on his deathbed and he gives any type of order, we see it as if it was actually transacted and concluded. Monetary.
Even if one person hears it, or do you need two people?
Well, it has to be verified that he said it. Let's see, two people said it. Tenu mono leplon, give so-and-so 100 omes, yitnu lachamisa. So what do we see over here? So again, we say in regard to get isha and shtar shichror, we say, even though it was mat shchivira, it's too late. If he dies before it's given, neither by get isha, not. So Mara says, kiton milsad lesa b'shtoris. Milsad isa b'shtoris loktoni. No, which means... One second. Right? He says, what would be... We're saying we're equating A to B. What about if C also has this common law? Let's say he would say, I want you to give a gift, with a document to so-and-so. He didn't say just, I want that item to belong to so-and-so. I want you to take a document, a deed, and I want you to give the deed to so-and-so. You should own the piece of property.
He has the deed.
So and he dies before he takes the deed.
Okay.
There's no different getting Isha and Shtar Shikra. Whenever we're saying that these two are the same, it's limited to these two situations. There's no third situation. But if there's a third situation, it's not limited. That's the reason why this is not counted as one of the cases. Because the commonality is not only between get Shikra and get Isha, they have regular Shtar. This applies to the same thing by Shtar Matona.
So we're saying the same, all stars, including get, shikra, get, isha, they're all the same, so therefore it's not...
It's not limited to these two.
We're trying to find just get...
Something is limited to these two. So now the Gemara is going to ask a question. What about mechuber? Right? If you write a document, when it's written, it's mechuber, and then you sever it, detach it, and you give it. This is limited only by to get shikhr and get isha. So why doesn't it mention that? Right? Or lishma. Right? The document has to be written lishma. That's limited to get isha and get shikhr. So why is that mentioned? These are Gemara's questions.
Yeah.
Right? Because it has no application to any other situation. Let's see it inside. So Gemara asks, the Shalach Ravin Vishmei de Rebbevo have a Yodin. Shalach Rebbe Lozer Legolo. Rebbe Lozer sent to the diaspora Mishum Rabbeinu. Shchiv Meira Shom Akisu Tenu Monu Leploni Emes. If he said write it and give it, he didn't say just the $100 should belong to. So he says write it and give it. And Kosim Nos Neshema Lo Gomalak Nos Lo Mishtar. Because how did he want the transfer to take place? Only with a document. So since the document was not given in his lifetime, and therefore, and once he dies, the asset no longer belongs to him. So why isn't Lishma mentioned? That is the commonality between Get Isha and Get Shichro. Right? The Get Shich has to be written Lishma as the Get Isha. Bishlom of the Rabbah, according to Rabbah, that he says, that what was the, when we says before Nechvan and Nechtam, what is the value of that? That's Lishma. Maybe, so we said that's the commonality. Elo the Rava says, what is it for Nechtam? It's only to substantiate the document. Kasha, so what does it say? Lishma, Desu. Secondly, Bein the Rabba, Bein the Rava, Ikum Mechuber. Right? If at the time of the writing it was attached, right, then he severs it and he gives it, it's not valid. Not by Gerisha, not by Kshtar Shichru. Because it's the Kosa V'nosan. There could be no interruption of the writing and the giving. So if he has to sever it from the tree before he gives it, it's not valid. So why is that mentioned as one of the commonalities between Get Shichur and Get Isha? Now the Gemara says something interesting. Kik Toni Psul Drabonon. All the analogies, the commonalities were established. It's only where the invalidation is rabbinical. On a Torah level, it's valid. It's valid. If one does not say Fonei Neftam, right? It's only because Ir Debal, because we don't want the husband to contest it. And since it's something very delicate, we're speaking about Mamzerim, Dorais Loktani, the Psul, the validation of Mechuber, that's a Doraiso, Lishmo is a Doraiso. To be continued.